do not harbor a conscience. No, as you think of yourself in unity with this conception, the original substance, which permeates and fills the tissues of your body, is taking form according to thought. Know that this intelligent substance, or mind stuff, will cause function to be performed in such a way that your body will be rebuilt with perfectly healthy cells. The intelligent substance, from which all things are made, permeates and penetrates all things, and so is in and through your body, and moves according to its thoughts. So if you hold only the thoughts of perfectly healthy function, it will cause the movements of perfectly healthy function within you. Hold a persistence to the thought of perfect health in relation to yourself. Do not permit yourself to think in any other way. Hold this thought with perfect faith that it is the fact, the truth. It is the truth so far as your mental body is concerned. You have a mind body, a physical body. The mind body takes form just as you think of yourself. And any thought which you hold continuously is made visible by the transformation of the physical body into its image. Implanting the thought of perfect functioning into your mind body will, in due time, cause perfect functioning in the physical body. The transformation of the physical body into the image of the ideal held by the mind body is not accomplished instantaneously. We cannot transfigure our physical bodies at will as Jesus did. In the creation and recreation of forms, substance moves along the fixed lines of growth it has established, and the impression upon it of the health thought causes the healthy body to be built cell by cell. And the only thoughts of perfect health will ultimately cause perfect function. Perfect function will in due time produce a perfectly healthy body. Maybe as well to condense this chapter into a syllabus. Your physical body is permeated and filled with an intelligent substance, which forms a body of mind stuff. This mind stuff controls the functioning of your physical body. Thought of disease or imperfect function pressed upon the mind stuff causes disease or imperfect functioning in the physical body. If you are diseased, it is because wrong thoughts have made impressions on this mind stuff. These may have been either your own thoughts or those of your parents. We begin life with many subconscious impressions, both right and wrong. The natural tendency of all mind is toward health. No thoughts are held in the conscious mind, save those of health, while internal functioning will come to be performed by a perfectly healthy manner. The power of nature within you is sufficient to overcome all hereditary impressions. And if you will learn to control your thoughts so that you shall think only those of health, if you will perform the voluntary functions of life in a perfectly healthy way, you can certainly be well. Chapter 5. Faith. The principle of health is moved by faith. Nothing else can call it to action. And only faith can enable you to relate yourself to health. Consider your relation with disease in your thoughts. You will continue to think of disease unless you have faith in health. If you do not have faith, you will doubt. If you doubt, you will fear. If you fear, you will relate yourself in mind to that which you fear. If you fear disease, you will think of yourself in connection with disease. That will produce within yourself the form and motions of disease. Just as original substance creates from itself the forms of its thoughts, so your mind body, which is original substance, takes the form and motion of whatever you think about. If you fear disease, dread disease, have doubts about your safety from disease, or even if you contemplate disease, you will connect yourself with it and create its forms and motions within you. Let me enlarge somewhat on this point. The potency or creative power of a thought is given to it by the faith that is in it. Thoughts which contain no faith create no forms. The formless substance, which knows all truth and therefore thinks only truth, has perfect faith in every thought, because it thinks only truth, and so all its thoughts create. But if you will imagine a thought in formless substance, in which there was no faith, you will see that such a thought could not cause the substance to move or take form. Keep in mind the fact that only those thoughts which are conceived in faith have creative energy. Only those thoughts which have faith with them are able to change function
I have perfect faith.
or to quicken the principle of health into activity. If you do not have faith in health, you will certainly have faith in disease. will take on the form and motions of disease and retain it, because your health thought will not have sufficient dynamic force to change form and motion. In order to practice the science of being well, you must have complete faith in health. Faith begins in belief. Now comes the question, what must you believe in order to have faith in health? You must believe that there is more health power than disease power in both yourself and your environment. You cannot help believing this if you consider the facts. These are the facts. There is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. The form of this substance produces the form. The thought of emotion institutes the motion. In relation to man, the thoughts of original substance are always of perfect health and perfect function. The substance, within and without man, always exerts its power to direct health. Man is a thinking center, capable of original thought. He has a mind-body of original substance permeating a physical body. The functioning of his physical body is determined by the faith of his mind body. If man thinks with faith of the functioning of health, he will cause his internal functions to be performed in a healthy manner, provided that he performs the external functions in a corresponding manner. But if man thinks with faith of disease, or of the power of disease, he will cause his internal functioning to be the function of disease. The original intelligent substance is in man, moving toward health, and it is pressing upon him from every side. Man lives, moves, and has his being in a limitless ocean of health power. He uses this power according to his faith. If he appropriates it and applies it to himself, it is all his. If he unifies himself with it by unquestioning faith, he cannot fail to attain health. The power of his substance is all the power that is. In believing above statements, the foundation for faith. If you believe them, you believe that health is the natural state of man, and that man lives in the midst of universal health, that all the power of nature makes for health, and that health is possible to all, can surely be attained by all. You believe that the power of health in the universe is 10,000 times greater than that of disease. In fact, that disease has no power whatever, being only the result of perverted thought and faith. And you believe that health is possible to you, and that it may surely be attained by you, and that you know exactly what to do in order to attain it. You will have faith in health. You will have this faith and knowledge if you read this book through with care, determined to believe in and practice its teachings. It is not merely the possession of faith, but the personal application of faith which works healing. You must claim health in the beginning, and form a conception of health, as far as may be, of yourself as a perfectly healthy person. Then, by faith, you must claim that you are realizing this conception. Do not assert with faith that you are going to get well. Assert with faith that you are well. Having faith in health and applying it to yourself means having faith that you are healthy. The first step in this is to claim that it is the truth. Mentally, take the attitude of being well. Do not say anything or do anything which contradicts this attitude. Never speak a word or assume a physical attitude which does not harmonize with the claim, I am perfectly
You
well.
want to eat a taquito? I mean, you can have some if you want. If you want to stay up for 20 minutes, it's alright. I was going to eat 3 taquitos as a sharing with you if you wanted one. And then I'm going to go sit in this corner and meditate.
Find that you will realize
Definitely want to get taquito.
weakness or disease, change instantly. Straighten up. Think of health and power. Refuse to consider yourself as other than a perfectly healthy person. One great aid, perhaps the greatest aid of applying your faith, you will find in the exercise of gratitude. When you think of yourself or of your advancing condition, give thanks to the great intelligent substance for the perfect health you are enjoying. Remember that, as Swedenborg taught. There is a continual inflow of life from the Supreme, which is received by all created things according to their forms, by man according to his faith. Health from God is continually being urged upon you. Think of this. Lift up your mind reverently to it. Give thanks that you have been led to the truth, to perfect health of mind and body. Be all the time in a grateful frame of mind. there shall be no room in your mind for a thought of ill. Every thought connected in any way with ill health is unwelcome. You can close the door of your mind in its face by asserting that you are well, and by reverently thanking God that it is so. Soon old thoughts will return no more. Gratitude has a twofold effect. It strengthens your faith, and it brings you into close and harmonious relations with the Supreme. Believe that there is one intelligent substance from which all life and all power come. You believe that you receive your own life from this substance. You relate yourself closely to it by feeling continuous gratitude. It is easy to see that the more closely you relate yourself to the source of life, the more readily you may receive life from it. It's easy also to see that your relation to it is a matter of mental attitude. We cannot come into physical relationship with God, for God is mind stuff. We also are mind stuff. Our relation with Him must therefore be a mind relation. It is plain then that the man who feels deep and hearty gratitude will live in closer touch with God and who never looks up to Him in thankfulness. The ungrateful or unthankful mind really denies that it receives at all, and so cuts its connection with the Supreme. The grateful mind is always looking for the Supreme, is always open to receive from Him, and it will receive continually. The principle of health in man receives its vital power from the principle of life in the universe. Man relates himself to the principle of life by faith in health, and by gratitude for the health he receives. Man may cultivate both faith and gratitude by the proper use of his will. Chapter 6. Use of the will. In the practice of the science of being well, the will is not used to compel yourself to go when you are not really able to go, or to do things when you are not physically strong enough to do them. You do not direct your will upon your physical life to try to compel the proper performance of internal functions by willpower. You direct the will upon the mind. Use it to determine what you shall believe, what you shall think, and what you shall give your attention. The will should never be used upon any person or thing external to you, and it should never be used upon your own body. The sole legitimate use of the will is in determining to what you shall give your attention, and what you shall think about the things to which your attention is given. All belief begins in the will to believe. You cannot always instantly believe what you will to believe, but you can always will to believe what you want to believe. You want to believe truth about health, you can will to do so. The statements you have been reading in this book are the truth about health. You can will to believe it. This must be your first step toward being well. These are the statements you must will to believe. That there is a thinking substance from which all things are made, and that man receives the principle of health, which is his life, from this substance. That man himself is thinking substance, a mind-body permeating a physical life. And as man's thoughts are, so will the functioning of his physical life be. That if man will think only thoughts of perfect health, he must and will cause the internal and involuntary functioning of the body to be the functioning of health, provided that his external and voluntary functioning and attitude are in accordance with his thoughts. When you will to believe these statements, you must also begin to act upon them. You cannot long retain a belief unless you act upon it. You cannot increase a belief until it becomes faith unless you act upon it. You certainly cannot expect to reap benefits in any way from a belief so long as you act as if the opposite were true. You cannot long have faith in health if you continue to act like a sick person. If you continue to act like a sick person, you cannot help continuing to think of yourself as a sick person. If you continue to think of yourself as a sick person, you will continue to be a sick person. The first step toward acting externally like a well person is to begin to act internally like a well person. Form your conception of perfect health, and get into the way of thinking about perfect health until it begins to have a definite meaning to you. Picture yourself as doing the things a strong and healthy person, and have faith that you can and will do those things in that way. Continue this until you have a vivid conception you are well by being sincerely grateful for the help you're receiving. Whatever suggestions of changes make your faster money, in the exact place, fall back upon the exercise gratitude. Connect yourself with the Supreme. Give thanks to God when the perfect love begins you. You will soon find yourself able to control your thoughts and to think what you want to think. Times of doubt, trial, and temptation. The exercise of gratitude is always a sheet anchor which will prevent you from being swept away. Remember that the great essential thing is to sever all mental relations with disease and to enter into full mental relationship with health. This is the key to all mental healing. It is the whole thing. Here we see the secret of the great success of Christian Science, or any other formulated system of practice. It insists that its converts shall sever relations with disease and link themselves fully with health. The healing power of Christian Science is not in its theological form, nor in its denial of matter, but in the fact that it induces the sick to ignore disease as an unreal thing and accept health by faith and reality. Its failure is made because its practitioners, while thinking in a certain way, do not eat, drink, breathe, and sleep in the same way. While there is no healing power in the repetition of strings of words, it is a very convenient thing to have the central thoughts so formulated that you can repeat them readily, so that you can use them as affirmations whenever you are surrounded by an environment which gives you adverse suggestions. When those around you begin to talk of sickness and death, close your ears and mentally assert something like the following.